Hello, I am Mr. Brown, your science teacher. I make videos for students of all ages, and today we are going on an amazing astronomy adventure. Have you ever gone outside and looked up and seen this big bright thing at night and never wondered to yourself, what is that? That's the moon. Come on, Mr. Brown, we already knew that. That's the moon. All right, fine. The moon, you can see the light colored lunar highlands. You can see the dark colored volcanic maria of the moon. Here's some stuff that is interesting. Here you can see 1972, the astronauts brought a car up there to the moon. That car is still up there today. You might want to bring a fresh battery, but you could potentially go up there and drive it around even today. That's interesting. On the far side of the moon, the Chinese have a lunar robot wheeling around up there right now as we speak, sending back data. Nice job. And another interesting thing is in some of the craters at the north and south pole of the moon, deep within the shadow line, there is ice delivered there by comets. This ice could be melted down into drinking water in the future or split into hydrogen and oxygen for breathing and rocket fuel. So we look back at our planet, the only planet in the universe known to have life. Let's take a look at this interesting planet. What am I seeing here? What is this? I recognize this. This is our state of Wisconsin at night from orbit. There's Milwaukee, there's Madison. I see Fond du Lac, Oshkosh, Appleton. What up, Green Bay? All right, so what we want to do is we want to look up to the skies. That's what astronomy is all about. These things are searching the skies for radio signals. Here's another one called Arecibo, found in Puerto Rico. The best place for viewing the sky is on top of a volcano in Hawaii. Here's the Mauna Kea Observatory up above the clouds. Did someone say clouds? You can't talk clouds without mentioning planet Venus, the planet of clouds. Look at that. Let's go down to the surface, and what do we find? Not much. This is an actual real photograph from the surface of Venus, and it is hot and deadly, and there's no living things here. In fact, after this photo was taken, the space probe malfunctioned because it's so hot and full of pressure. But in the future, NASA is thinking about sending a robotic solar-powered drone up into the clouds. That might be cool. Let's take a look at our personal star, the sun, and let's set up a fight between the Earth and the sun. Who's going to win? And the sun. I mean, look at the size of the Earth, and the sun's out here punching at it, and yeah. In the sun's final days, billions of years in the future, the Earth is doomed. Why is this on here? You're scaring the children. You're saying the sun's going to run out of fuel in billions of years and the Earth is doomed? Yeah, it's true. It's ugly, but it's true. Mars. This is an actual photograph of Mars. Notice the northern and southern polar caps there. What's interesting about Mars is it is a planet of robots sent by us humans. Right now, at this very moment, NASA's Curiosity rover is up there sending back data, and it has been for a couple of years, doing a great job. Here's another interesting thing about Mars. It has the largest mountain in the solar system. Olympus Mons, 72,000 feet tall. It's so tall that it goes up above the Martian atmosphere. If you are sitting at the top of Olympus Mons, you're in space. That's cool. Here we see our friend Jupiter. I recognize that big old red spot of Jupiter, that swirling hurricane that's been going on for hundreds of years. What's interesting about Jupiter is it is a giant magnet, a strong magnet. You can't see magnetism, right? But if you could, Jupiter's magnetic field would be amazing. It's huge. This is what Jupiter's magnetic field would look like if you could see it from Earth. It would take up the whole sky. Here is an artist's rendering of what it might look like from the surface of one of Jupiter's moons, Europa. And here's sunrise with big old Jupiter. All right, let's move down the road to Saturn. This is an actual photo of Saturn with its beautiful rings. But what I want to do is I want to get a closer look at the North Pole of Saturn. And what I'm seeing here is a giant hexagon. This is kind of interesting. Look at that, a giant hexagon. This is what it would look like from a nearby moon of Saturn called Titan. And what's interesting about Titan, let's go down to the surface, that's not rain. Well, it's raining, but it's not water. That is liquid methane and liquid ethane raining from the clouds, giant oceans of hydrocarbon fuel. There's an old spacecraft that landed there a couple of years ago, but in the future, perhaps Titan could be a refueling station for spacecraft of the future. This is a real picture of Pluto. That's remarkable. What's also interesting about Pluto is that it is home to a bunch of moons. Look at that, Charon, Nix, Styx, Kerberos, Hydra. Let's compare them with the size of Wisconsin, and you'll see there's some small moons there in comparison. Out beyond Pluto is what's called the Oort cloud, millions of little chunks of rock and ice. Every once in a while, one of those chunks will get disturbed and go hurtling in towards the sun. We call those comets. And there's a lot of them out there. This graphic tries to show you what the shape of the Oort cloud is. But let's go further out into space, beyond our solar system. And out there, the sun isn't really that big of a deal anymore. Here you can see, there you can see our sun right there in comparison to some of these giants. And a big one is Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse is seen here from Wisconsin. You can see it is the shoulder of the constellation Orion, and it is really bright and clear. Here you can see it from your backyard here in Wisconsin. There's Betelgeuse. Now, why do we care? This star has been making news lately. It is big. If we plopped it in the middle of our solar system, it would extend out into Saturn's orbit. The reason that it's been in the news lately is scientists think it might be reaching the end of its lifetime. It's using up its hydrogen fuel in its core quite quickly and has the potential to blow up. This is what would be called a supernova explosion, one of the most violent things in the universe. During a supernova explosion, a lot of the heavier elements of the periodic table are created. And you better get out of the way there, little planet. You're kind of in the danger zone. Do you think we could ever see a supernova here from Earth? Well, we did. Back in 1054, one of the stars in our night sky went supernova and was seen from Earth. This is an artist's speculation as what it would have looked like at night, but sure enough, it did in 1054. We know this because the Europeans saw it, the Native Americans saw it, and the Chinese saw it too, and they all recorded it somehow. So that's pretty interesting. What's even more interesting is that after a supernova, we could get a black hole. You've heard of these before, right? Those super intense gravitational wells where nothing can escape. Here we see a black hole munching on gas from a nearby star. And here we have the Earth being sucked into a black hole. Why do people even... This is so destructive and mean. Let's stop it. Some people speculate that going into a black hole, you might come out the other side, somewhere in time and space called a wormhole. Nobody's sure if that really exists, but it makes for pretty cool science fiction. All right, we're back up in the night sky in your backyard in Wisconsin, and we're going to go across the sky to this little grouping of stars here called the Pleiades. Let's get a closer look. The Pleiades are also known as the Seven Sisters, a little cluster of stars. But the thing is, other countries can see this from their backyards too. Like in Japan, they can see the Pleiades, but they don't call it the Pleiades. They call it Subaru. All right, so the next time you're in the parking lot and you see a Subaru, take a look at the little symbol there and you can see the stars of the Pleiades. Our home, the Milky Way galaxy, our solar system is somewhere halfway between the edge and the center, maybe somewhere about here. And we cannot see this point of view. We are in the Milky Way galaxy. This is just a painting. What we can see is just kind of a smear across our night sky. If you're in somewhere really dark, you might be able to see the Milky Way galaxy. This is a map of the local group, a couple galaxies within, 5 or 6 million light years. And the big one, here's the Milky Way, and about 2.5 million light years away is Andromeda, who is headed right towards us sometime in the future. That galaxy will smash into ours. So look forward to that on your calendars. Are we alone in any of these galaxies? Is there intelligent life out there? Are there civilizations out there? Well, I'll tell you the answer right now. Nobody knows. It's one of the mysteries of science. Yet, I don't know, we might solve it someday. There was an astronomer named Frank Drake. He came up with the Drake equation. You plug in all of these different factors and multiply them together and try to figure out if there's aliens out there. I ran this equation and I got 5. Professor Stephen Hawking ran this equation and he got 0. So it depends on what numbers you put in. Anyway, this is kind of interesting. We sent a space probe back in 1977 called the Voyager 2, and it was packed with all sorts of cool looking science gear, radioisotope thermoelectric generators, and ultraviolet spectrometers, and all this stuff. Anyway, the point is, this space probe has been out there for over 40 years, and it has left our solar system and heading out into deep space. And it still works after all this time. It takes 17 hours for radio signals to travel all the way out there, and 17 hours for that little space probe to communicate back with us. So that's interesting. Perhaps, maybe, someday, an alien civilization will pick up this thing. And what we've done is we've made a little graphic on the side. This is scientists trying to communicate the location of Earth. And it's done in a binary mathematical language, and it describes how we have the technology to develop spacecraft. And I wonder why we didn't have the technology to give this dude some pants. Man. Anyway, thank you for covering these topics with me today. If you're interested, do some more research. Check this stuff out. It's super interesting. All right, that's it for today. Thank you. Bye.